got my
There we
ride.
go.
Guacamole Fan Club 2016.
Hey.
Man, what an awesome video.
Amendments.
You eating guacamole?
Okay.
Amendments.
Before we begin today, I want to point out one thing that I forgot to mention earlier. Okay. When we were talking about limits of the government, right? We talked about Federalist number 10. We talked about how it is important that there are limits to the Constitution, right? And that's what a lot of stuff was doing. There are three main limits that are placed. Yeah, there are three main limits that are placed on the Constitution. Okay, checks and balances, right? So it makes it that one branch can't do too much.
What is this?
The limits of power in the Constitution to protect people. Okay, so there's checks and balances. There's the separation of powers, right? To make sure that you have three different branches, and also the federal system, right? Those three items are really key for making sure that one branch does not have too much power, right? Or one group does not have too much power, right? What's that? Federal system, right? So that's the idea of having the state government and the national government, right?
Wait, sorry, can you repeat those three?
Yeah, checks and balances, separation of powers, and the federal system.
And then it's to keep the president from getting too powerful?
It's to
or
keep
any branch?
it's to keep anyone from getting too powerful, right? So the check on the Senate and the House is that the president can veto a bill, right? A check on the judicial branch is that they cannot pass a law, they can only determine if a law is constitutional or not, right? So they have that piece. The federal piece we talked about in class, right? The separation of states and national government, and the separation of powers is making sure everyone has their own job, right? Okay, yeah.
What's the check on the executive branch?
Executive branch is that you can have an override of a veto, right? The Senate must approve all the appointments. They can be impeached, right? All of those are examples of checks, right? Okay, so the amendments, okay? What happened there?
You got to slide it.
Did I do it? Fascinating. There we go. All right. 1 through 10. Are the Bill of Rights, okay? As we learned in class, the Bill of Rights are put in 1791. They're put in as a lump group. They're put in to appease the Anti-Federalists, okay? These are the ones that people probably know the best, okay? The First Amendment are some of our most important rights. There are 5 parts to the First Amendment. What are they?
Freedom of speech.
Speech. What else?
Religion.
Religion. Keep going.
Press.
Press. What else? Uh-uh. The right to petition
Oh, right to protest.
and the right to assembly. Right? Which is the same thing. Okay? Those are your First Amendment rights. Okay? Super significant, obviously. Number 2, which I'm sure you all know, is what?
Right to bear arms.
Right to bear arms.
Furry arms.
This is the most controversial of amendments right now. I will read it to you. Okay? As it is said, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That simple sentence can be viewed in a lot of different ways, obviously. But that is probably the most controversial of the Bill of Rights that we have, right? Number 3 is the Quartering Act to prevent quartering. This goes directly from the Revolutionary War. It is the one that means the least to us now, right? As we do not have any soldiers coming in to quarter our homes, okay? The 4th, okay, is search and seizure. The principle behind this is that a police officer cannot search your home without a warrant, all right? They cannot come in without probable cause, right? You have rights. So if a police officer pulls you over and you have done nothing wrong and they say, I would like to search your car, you can say no, right? Now, by saying no, you are obviously upsetting the police officer and something else can happen. But if they want to search your home, they need to have a warrant or probable cause. So if they see you driving down the street and you are smoking out of a pipe, that might give them probable cause to do so, right? But if you are just driving down the street and nothing is happening, then they would not have the right to search your car, right? Okay, the fifth, okay? These are your rights as a criminal, all right, of what you have, okay? 3 rights, okay? Number 1, so we'll call this criminal proceedings. Number 1, you must be formally accused of a crime. They cannot arrest you and just hold you without charging you with the crime. Okay, you have to know what you're being charged for. Number 2, you cannot be tried twice for the same crime. Okay, so if you are accused of murder, you are found not guilty, and then you go out of the courthouse and you say, guess what, I did it, they cannot try you again. It's called double jeopardy. Okay? Emmett Till, who we are going to look at in great depth, who you guys probably know a little bit about. Good example, right? Those two, the 2 guys who killed him, right, gave an interview saying we did it, explained how they did it, could not be tried again. Okay? And number 3 is you have the right to not testify against yourself. If you ever heard the phrase, I plead the fifth, right? It's the idea that you have the ability in a courtroom to say, I'm not going to give you any answer. Okay? Those are them. 6 and 7 kind of go together. Okay? These involve the rights in a trial. Okay? So you are guaranteed trial by jury. You are guaranteed right to counsel. Another word for counsel is what?
Lawyer.
A lawyer. So you are given a lawyer.
CIO.
I don't know, is it? No, it's SEL.
Bad.
And you can confront witnesses. So if Ray accuses me of theft, I then can go and question Ray, or my lawyer can question Ray. Right? Goes back and forth. That's the 6th. The 7th one is a very minor piece about how you can get a trial by jury if the case is worth more than $20, which is obviously pretty often. Okay. Number 8 is excessive punishment. Okay, or you can't have excessive punishment. Okay, so this is the idea of no cruel and unusual punishment. If you steal a loaf of bread, your bail cannot be set at $1 million. Right, it has to fit the crime. If you steal a loaf of bread, you cannot get a 10-year prison term for this. Right, those can't happen. Okay,
But you wouldn't get a trial
So-
by jury for that. Would you?
correct. Hey, how's it going?
Good. Can we just step in
Sure.
for a minute?
How you doing? We're doing a Constitution tutorial right now. We're working on the Constitution, so Bill of Rights. So, all right, so that is 8, okay? So you can't be overpunished for bread stealing, okay? It's really
Is it
deep.
just bread stealing?
Just bread stealing, right? That's what we're looking at, right?
You will be pursued by a Javert.
Right, exactly. So, number 9, enumerated rights, okay? So the enumerated rights of this, okay? As it says, the enumeration of the Constitution or certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. You have certain rights that are not listed in the Constitution, okay? You have certain things that you can do. It is interesting as they say this in this, because this document was written a while ago, and the first one they give is the right of parents, so the ability for your parents to do what they want. They then say the right of privacy. And the third one is the right to marry, which at this time when this was written, right, the right to marry was clearly defined differently than it is defined now, which is interesting how that has changed, right? But the right to drive a car, The right to have freedoms that we have in the United States that aren't listed in here are given through the 9th Amendment. Okay? And number 10,
How do you spell that?
which one? Unenumerated?
Yeah.
Are you just doing this to see if I know how to spell?
Wait, is
No, I'm doing this. I don't know how to
And
spell.
Enumerated or unenumerated?
Unenumerated. So those that are not listed. Unenumerated. Unenumerated rights. Did I spell that right? I think I did.
Sure.
Right?
Close enough.
Number 10 is powers to the states. Okay? Powers to the states. If it is not listed in the Constitution, it automatically goes to the states. Okay? So in one of the classes, someone was asking about the ability to tax to build a football stadium, right? That is something that the states have the right to do. So, that kid just made a face at me. A little jerk. Okay? So, my daughter's in 3rd grade. So every now and then I get little kids running up and like making faces at me like that. Bill of Rights. Okay? These are the 10. Okay? These are the ones that we would say are the Bill of Rights. Okay? Questions about these? Yeah, go ahead.
How quickly after the Constitution was?
1787 was when the Constitution was written. 1791 was when this was put forth. So this is part of that first Congress, right? That they built it in. Yeah.
How are these like defined, like excessive punishment? How could you define something excessive?
So if you are accused of something, so let's, going back to the bread thing, right? If you are given something that is excessive, what you can then do is you can go back and you can sue or you can challenge that case. At the moment it's happening, you're probably going to be out of luck, right? But you can, in theory, work your way back in.
And that is probable cause.
Yes, probable cause would be in-search and seizure. Right, it'd be there. No, that's okay. Good. But raise your hand next time. So.
No, I didn't mean probable cause. I meant,
Well, why'd you say probable cause?
I don't know.
You made a mistake, Mr.
You getting nervous?
Beyond reasonable doubt.
Take care, guys. Beyond a reasonable doubt in terms of
I'm being guilty.
being guilty of a crime without beyond reasonable doubt, that is located in. No, it's not.
That's like the same as innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like how trials work.
Yeah, that's just part of the deal. Yeah. Question?
You said there were 3 things for 5. What was the 3rd thing?
For 5, it is formally be accused,
You don't have to testify against yourself.
and you can't be tried twice. All right. So I'm gonna kind of fly through the rest of them. Okay. 12.
11?
11 is
We haven't talked about 11.
11 is an individual can't sue a state through federal courts. I'm not going to list them all right now. I'm going to list the
Okay.
ones that you need. Okay.
Okay.
All right. 12 is the Electoral College. Okay, or not the Electoral College. Pardon me. The election of the president. Okay. This is where they determine that the president and the vice president will be elected separately. We'll talk about why that is necessary next week. Okay, but this is to prevent there from being the Hillary Clinton president, Donald Trump vice president ticket.
So they will
Okay.
not
Oh,
be
boy.
elected separately.
They will now be elected. They are now independent of one another. Okay,
What was 11?
don't worry about it. Okay, 13 through 15.
Wait, they're now independent?
They are now. It is now that you can. They will vote for a president and they will vote for a vice president, as opposed to just ranking. It used to be the winner became the
Oh.
president.
So
Second
that's been
place.
changed again.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson
Yeah.
was the king of that.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it originally was that
Put
the
it that
president wins, the vice president becomes the person who finished second. Now it's that the electors can say,
Okay.
this is who we want for the president, this is who we want for the vice president.
Okay.
13 through 15 are civil rights amendments. Okay? Lumped together. Okay? The 13th Amendment abolishes slavery. The 14th Amendment provides citizenship that was specifically designed for slaves. Okay? And the 15th Amendment is the right to vote for African Americans. Okay? Those are all post-Civil War. Okay? Slavery, 13. Citizenship, 14. Vote, 15.
Is it just like right
They're given citizenship.
Oh, African Americans.
Correct.
Yeah.
All people born in the United States become citizens.
Wait, and 15 is for the right to vote?
Right to vote for African Americans. Okay? (16 through 19) are the progressive amendments. This is from a time period in the early 1900s, okay, 19 teens, that is known as the progressive era, okay? 16 creates an income tax, and the income tax is based on what you earn, right? It's designed to be a more fair tax as opposed to a tax for everyone that's the same. So if you make more money, you pay more money. Okay? 17, the people directly elect senators. We talked about in class up before this, the state legislature would elect the Senate, right? Now it's the people that do that. Number 18, prohibition. No drinking. It becomes illegal to drink alcohol in the United States. This was designed as a way to better Americans. Drinking was an evil. Yeah.
Was it also legal to sell, trade?
Yes.
own?
Yes.
Manufacture.
Manufacture. Yes. You couldn't manufacture, transportation, and sale. Okay.
So if you
So
had
you
it,
could
you could
drink
drink it.
But it was illegal to have
Get it.
Yeah.
I have a
so
photo of my great grandpa making bathtub gin.
really, we'll bring you in. That's good stuff. And 19 is the women's right to vote. Women get the right to vote only in 1920. It's been less than 100 years for women having the right to vote. Okay?
Wait, so was that for all women or just white women?
It was for all women. So
Technically.
African Americans gained the right to vote, but
But it was-
African American women did not gain the
Yeah,
right
so
to
it was
vote.
like black men could vote and then this was all women.
All women, correct. Yes. Okay, so African American men could vote before white women could vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So number 20 is when the president takes office. It used to be that the president didn't get put into office until March. So there was like a 4-week window or a 4-month window by the time they were elected to when they became president. They moved it to January. They made that more make more sense, okay? 21, the end of prohibition. If you have an amendment that you wish to change, you must create another amendment, all right?
So we still have both amendments.
So 18 is there, but 21 has sort of trumped 18.
So it's
Right.
in like order? Of,
Yeah, right.
Like chronological.
So
Correct.
it basically just says 18 is in
It
the
repealed the 18th. It repealed the 18th.
But it's still like there.
I guess it's
Just
still
doesn't
there.
count.
Yeah, right. All right. As we move quick here, 22 are term limits for the president. Before, you could have as many terms as you wanted. The only reason that we had 2 term limits is because of precedent set by George Washington, that he did 2. Franklin Roosevelt during World War II goes for 4. And so following that, it is determined that they want to make that official. Okay? 23, Washington, D.C. gets electors. Before 1961, if you lived in Washington, D.C., you didn't get to vote for the presidency, which is kind of interesting. You aren't a part of the state, right? So they put that in there. Okay. Number 24, no poll tax. Can't have to pay something in order to vote.
Did you have to before?
You could. Yeah, you could.
So do we need to know all of these?
I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you at the end, okay? I'm just kind of going through them all here.
And are we gonna
Okay.
need to know them by number?
No.
Okay.
I'll tell you in a second. 25 involves the vice president. And what this one does, this is in 1967. This is following the death of Kennedy. what it says was if the president ends up dying, is removed from office, cannot serve, the vice president will become the president immediately. Okay? And so basically what that does, like if the president has a operation or something and they go under, like they're under general anesthesia where they can't serve, the vice president becomes president in that moment. Okay?
Doesn't it go back to being
Yes.
president after?
Yes. Okay?
So like when Obama has surgery, Joe gets to be the president for like
An hour.
Correct.
just a minute.
26. 2 minutes? 2 minutes. 26, the voting age goes to 18 from 21. Okay, this is Vietnam. Okay. And then 27, very quickly, is involving the salary of the Congress. This was originally proposed in 1789. It was ratified in 1992. Okay?
Wow.
So what we have in this situation as this goes, okay? What this says is that if you are a senator or a congressman and you want to give yourself a pay raise, you can ask for a pay raise, but it will not go into effect until the next Congress takes over. Right? Which is protecting against somebody saying, I'm going to give myself a $100,000 raise. Right? If you do that, you're probably going to get voted out. Right? And so it protects against that.
Until the next
And then it would kick in the next one. Right?
the next
Term.
The next Congress. Right? So 2 years later, 1 year later, whatever it is. Okay? Looking at these. Okay? What you need to know. Okay? Civil rights are 13 through 15. Progressive is 16 through 19. So lump those together. Okay? Know that Prohibition, 21, is the only amendment that has repealed another amendment. Okay?
So we need to know those numbers.
As they're lumped together. I would ask you, like, the progressive, like, I would ask you questions that would give you the numbers. The information will be there for you if you know, if you recognize it.
Okay.
Okay? Know the voting age is 18. Okay? Good to know. All right? This stuff, while important, and I'm glad that I've explained it to you, for tomorrow is not essential for knowing most likely. Okay? Bill of Rights. You're an American citizen. Know the Bill of Rights. Know the big ones.
Will it be on the test?
I would say I would definitely know 1. I would definitely know 2. I would know the fact that these are lumped together. I'd say those are the big
I
ones.
think 3 is the most important.
And I'd know the Quartering Act, just so when you're at like a dinner party, you'd be like, say, are you familiar with the 3rd Amendment to the Constitution? Let me
And then
tell you
you'll
all
be kicked
about
out
it.
the dinner party.
Right,
What
yeah,
about
right.
Airbnb? When you
All right.
just don't want to be as an Airbnb.
Questions about this? Yes, Abigail.
Do we need to know 12?
No, I don't, not for this. You'll need to know 12 for the next test, but not for this. Yeah,
For the 25th Amendment, where
Yes.
the vice president is made president immediately after the current president can't serve,
right.
did that also establish the order that it goes down the list?
No,
as
that
well
has
as
been
the
that was established long
It was just
before.
that it's immediate.
So this only made sure it was immediate as opposed to sometime
Right.
later. When would it have been previously?
Like when you were inaugurated.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
When did it change from voting for the president and voting for the vice president to the president and vice president run as one?
17. Pardon me. 18.
There's no amendment.
So that's not an amendment.
It is.
Is
So-
That amendment.
1804.
No,
So-
that is the
right
amendment?
now, the president and vice president are technically running separately, but they
Oh.
declare that they
Right.
are
oh,
Third.
like
so wait,
in
so
together as a
so-
team, so that the vice president gets all the presidential
Clinton,
candidates'
so
votes.
Clinton and Pence could technically be elected?
Yeah.
If the
The Electoral
Electoral
College thinks it's smart,
College
which
did
they
it,
won't.
which they are,
Probably not.
they
They won't.
swear that they won't do.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm gonna stop this.